Hello. I like to talk about why I read a particular book. This one today is because I saw a YouTube video of a 1970 half-hour series called Tales of Unease. It's an anthology series, and love to watch these anthology things that are just at like a half hour. There's a lot of them coming up on YouTube lately. This is, a lot of them are British series, and they're really good. I really like them, really enjoy them, and I like having a complete story in a half hour and then be gone. I don't have to follow it. So I watched one from 1970 on Tales of Unease, episode 6 actually, called Bad Bad JoJo. And I look at the credits for these. I wonder who writes these things. I'm not that concerned with directors. I'm quite interested in the writers. And this one was written by James Leo Herlihy. And I go, oh, I know that name. So I looked it up and realized, yeah, he's the guy that wrote the novel that became Midnight Cowboy, and also wrote another novel in the 50s called All Fall Down. All Fall Down, the script is adapted for the film by the great playwright William Inge, who wrote Picnic, and it stars Warren Beatty. So All Fall Down is a pretty good movie. But so I decided to read Midnight Cowboy. I had to buy a copy because the New York Public Library did not have it except an ebook. I could borrow an ebook, but I don't like to borrow the ebooks. I don't really like to read ebooks that much. I prefer to read a book. So, All Fall Down was adapted to the screen and Midnight Cowboy was adapted to the screen and became this really famous movie, of course. And It was the screenplay was written by Waldo Salt, who was a blacklisted screenwriter during the Red Scare in the late 40s and 50s. So that was great that uh, uh, Waldo Salt wrote the screenplay, and I'd like to see when these guys get back to work instead of being shoved out of the business by these right wingers. So, Midnight Cowboy, what do we have here? Well, we have the nice little cover. This is actually a first printing of the book. I got it for $13.50 at the Strand here in my neighborhood. And it tells the story of Joe Buck, who's out in Albuquerque, and then he goes to Houston, and he goes into the army, and he's sort of a kid that's been shoved from, well, blondes from one blonde to another. He says, or the writer says in describing the experience of young Joe Buck, and he has Sally Buck is his last sort of caretaker. His grandma, or at least is supposedly his grandma. He has no fathers, um, and she runs off and dies. So he's kind of basically alone, and he thinks he's kind of good looking and thinks one of his only real talents is making love, having sex with people, pleasing women, being empathetic enough to do that because he sees their reactions to other men. There's a scene where there's a movie theater and a woman who works at the movie theater is sexually active, and she kind of does several boys all at once in the in the room in the back of the theater. So it's sort of this group engagement scene. The book is not really explicit. I think the movie had an X rating when it first came out in 1969. But the book is not really like all that, dirty and prompting of sexual warnings or whatever. But even though books are often, a little bit harder. So in this one, he has this sort of this group thing that goes on with these other boys and this girl and him, and he's the last, and he's, she really likes him, so he gets that idea. Then he meets this other weird guy at this place where he's working as a dishwasher, and ultimately gets an idea from this sort of nasty kind of madam that this other guy takes him to, that he should go to New York and that there are women there who will pay for it. So he's on the bus, he saves up his money and goes to New York. So that's how he gets to New York. And, you probably have seen the movie, many people have. And the book, as far as I recall the movie, it ends in the same way as the book. And, I know that there was some. I haven't seen the movie in a long, long time, but so he does meet Rizzo, Rizzo, yeah, Rico Rizzo, and so they become good friends, and they end up staying together in sort of a squat. The book was written in 1965, 4 years before the movie was made. So they're living in a squat, which is essentially a building that's going to be torn down, and all the tenants have been moved out of it, and there are X's on the windows to mark that this building's up for destruction. So until that happens, they stay in these buildings, in these apartments, and winter comes and it gets very, very cold. He tries to be a hustler and fails. He goes to a wild party and stuff goes on there, and ultimately, yeah, uh, Rico gets ill, Ratso, and he gets really ill and keeps getting iller, and it's cold, and they don't have much food, and Buck. This is Buck's only. This is Joe Buck's only friend. So they are. Rico gets the idea if they go to Florida, they'll be all right. They can sleep on the beach, and there will be palm trees that they can have coconuts, and all you need to eat is really coconuts. So, so it's a brief novel, and as I said, it's more kind of more like the movie in a way, but I thought it was quite good, and the connection to the JoJo Bad JoJo series TV thing that I watched is that the it's about a writer who is obviously quite gay and also quite successful. This was on TV a year after Midnight Cowboy played. So this writer, a sort of fan journalist, comes up to interview him, and he's kind of crude, and he's kind of really sort of kind of a little dumb. He's all G and stuff like that, and he's a little bit like um, like Joe Buck, this character, and then he brings another character who's also sort of like Rico Rizzo. So it made me think that bad JoJo thing was kind of a his own. The writer's comment on his own experience of being famous and so forth after Midnight Cowboy, and also something to do with his own sexuality, I guess. So I thought it was quite interesting, and as I said, it did prompt me to get the book, and I will put the link to that up on the in the comments or in the description of the video here. I also have been I've gotten given myself a challenge of making new songs for a song or a musical piece that is inspired by the books I've read. So I did one for this one, and I think it's kind of successful. I really like it. It's sort of like I, kind of learned to use the software a little bit more. It's just like, I used it 20 years ago. If you do something and stick with it, you can really get skills. I've sort of gone on and off with things. And so, it's this one was more like what I was aiming for, and I like it. And I'll play here at the end of the video. So I think that's about all I have to talk about with Midnight Cowboy. Oh, the score of Midnight Cowboy is written by John Barry, but apparently uncredited. John Barry, quite a famous musical score guy during during that period in the 60s, 70s. And the song that Everybody's Talking by Fred Neil, that is performed by Harry Nilsson, became a big hit in 1969 when the movie was out. Well, there was another song written by Randy Newman, also performed by Harry Nilsson, that I had on an album called Nilsson Sings Newman. And that is another song called Cowboy. And I think pretty much sure it was written for Midnight Cowboy and then rejected and they took the Fred Neil song again, which was probably smart because it's zippier, and the cowboy song is quite downbeat, although it's I think it's a much better song. And at the end, there is a sort of a part of the theme of the score of the movie is played by Randy Newman on the piano. So it's definitely part of the movie trip. So and that score, like the movie, when you read a book like this is so famous, and you see the movie when you're quite young, which I did, the movie is right there in your brain. It's hard to get away from. So it was hard to get away from seeing, Joe Buck and Ratso Rizzo as anybody other than Dustin Hoffman and John Voight, but that's not who they were. They're these characters in the book. I think that's about all, and now I'll play what I call it, Cold City Cowboy, and hope you enjoy it if you stick with it, and I'll give the link to Cowboy by Randy Newman in the description of the video. I guess I should have just stayed in Houston. I don't know Houston. Shit. I thought I was going to be a hustler. Some hustler I turned out to be. I looked like a cowboy. New York was cold and tough. New York was cold and tough and hard. Got no money. It wasn't my fault. I got no heat. What are we gonna do? Rico said we go to Florida, and we go to Florida on the beach. So it'll be warm, and they gotta show me now in New York. It's freezing. I'm gonna shower. I'm new to this town. I don't know how to do it. So we just got these blankets. Look, man, you gotta give me $50. Rico's been sick. So you gotta give me $50. I gotta get. I need the $50. How? $50, man.
my only friend.
You feel better there.
Listen for just
It's good to have a friend.
warm these rooms that are overflowing.
Them all coconuts.
You could sleep on the beach and just live on coconuts because
Really,
coconuts
we'll
are
sleep on the beach.
trees. You just coconuts
No
are
more
complete
freezing.
protein. You don't and everything you need. You don't need anything else. So